I think for the most part, Gen Z is extremely lazy in comparison to previous generations, where previous generations in the 1900s, like men were going to war, people were working on farms, doing hard labor, all of these things. And I see so much complaining around people my age and in Gen Z in general when we have life so easy.
Yeah.
And I think it's only getting worse because now we have AI where people don't even have to think for themselves anymore.
Really
and
bad.
Especially the younger generation, like Gen X or whatever,
Yeah.
where they're growing up, literally where their developing minds don't have to think anymore.
So I'll tell this story. We're talking about before we press record.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. So I use a lot of AI, and I also agree. So a couple different things we can talk about. I also think younger generations are getting lazy. I think that I notice it myself, and I notice it through friends because everybody's having a very hard time hiring entry-level talent. So entry-level talent does not seem to want to work. And this is going to be a generalization, don't get me wrong. But I'll tell you some stories that have happened. I think I've told this story before. I can't remember if it was even to you. But one of my good friends, he's probably tried to hire 10 different like videographers. And I've also tried to hire videographers. He's trying to hire them full-time. And he's a very good guy, nice person, like smart business leader, owner, whatever. He's not the guy who, if you go work for him, you'd be like, oh, this is the worst fucking boss in the world. Like, no, he's a very nice guy, and he's very fair, and he pays very well. And he's gone through about 10 different videographers, mostly because their quality sucks. But and it's like you can't find good talent for like 70 grand in South Florida for some reason. And we hire some guy on a W-2 full-time videographer, and the guy signs the contract, and he comes into work, and the first day of work, he's like, I need more money. I've never in my life signed like an employment agreement, and then after I've signed the employment agreement said I need more money. I'm like, you're stupid. If you want more money, you negotiate before you sign the agreement, not after. This is not like a contractor. This is a W-2 employee, like full-time employee. I know you're Canadian. W-2 is a very American thing. I say it now because I'm down here. Got to talk American. But like, it's like you are no more RRSPs down here. Right? Like, it's a 401k. But no, it's like it's full-time employment. It's just full-time employment. You don't renegotiate that. You'll get a job. Go get a salaried job. You don't renegotiate that after in the first week of your job. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
Actually,
minimum
what's
a
wrong
year.
with you? Yeah, wait till you've done some work. Anyways, that's one thing that pisses me off. I don't understand that concept at all. To me, it's just like someone.
That's from an entitlement standpoint.
I think it's entitlement, but it's entitlement plus stupidity, which is probably like the worst kind of person.
Yeah.
Because if you were smart and entitled, you would apply for a job, and before you sign the contract, you'd say, actually, I want to make this amount of money. And then the hiring person can be like, yes or no. If they think, like, I've negotiated salaries before, I've gotten jobs before, it's like, fine.
Yeah.
But not after, not in the first week. Anyways, whatever. And the other thing that I think you mentioned is really smart is about AI and people not having to do the work themselves. So I notice this because I use AI in my post-production and some of my content. And AI, I mean, like, what do a lot of people use it for? I use it for the same thing, for writing. A lot of people use it for writing. And AI is getting very good. And if you take, for example, if we record a podcast, or if I even just record into a mic, and then if I've written pieces in the past and I like that writing style, and I can go into a generative chat tool or an LLM, and I can take the writing style that I like, and I can take the context that I want to speak about. And I say record into a mic so that it's not just like a simple one-line prompt.
Yeah.
But if it's like a topic with context.
Yeah.
Like it's a significant amount of information about a certain topic that can feed the LLM. If I take that plus the writing style and put it in, I could have some tweets, I could have some posts, like social posts, I could have captions, I could have newsletter, I could have blogs, all coming from like that particular input. And I can just I can create unlimited content with that input, and I don't really have to do a lot of thinking and creative writing anymore. But when I do that, I notice that I never realized how much writing helped me think, helped me communicate, helped me pull thoughts quicker. And when I don't write for a significant period of time, I feel like I'm getting dumber. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, I just feel like I'm getting dumber when I don't write. And I think that writing is just something that that just stimulates your brain to think in a different way. It's different than just consuming YouTube videos, for example. But I now force myself to actually write my newsletters because I find that that allows me to aggregate all the thoughts and all the things that I've learned in my life, and then find a way to articulate them and sort of feed them back and make sure that I actually understand them, which I think, like you mentioned before, is the real way that you can tell if you've learned something. But if I don't do that, I find that I just get dumber. And I mentioned another example. I interview a lot of people, and people that have had success and are in like the process of building right now. And then also people that have sold companies like 5 or 10 plus years ago. And the people that have sold companies years ago, listen, they're not stupid, obviously. But if you listen to when they were in the process of building a company versus 5 or 10 years into retirement, they are not as sharp as when they were currently every day building things and dealing with problems and basically just operating. So the less you do and the more that you outsource, or the more you're removed from the work, it impacts your brain. It impacts your cognitive performance. And I think that's something that people have to be careful of, because I'm saying this is, again, you said this very well. Like, I'm a grown ass adult. My brain is fully formed, and I'm feeling and seeing the effects of this. Whereas somebody who is not, their brain is not fully formed, if they're already lazy and they're already not taking school seriously, because again, I talk shit about like the traditional education system all the time, but it's better than nothing. It's definitely better than nothing. Like, I'd rather you go through university than not do any sort of personal development, professional development, education, or anything like that. But if you are just outsourcing all of your work and your learning to AI, I think that you're going to end up with a pretty stupid society. And that's more concerning than anything. People just get lazy with it. Now, there's the argument to say that, like, if you use AI, you can, for the first pass at creativity, then you can sort of take it to you can sort of refine it, and you can do the last mile of creative work. But I think that you still have to force yourself to think and do hard work and solve hard problems, and not just use AI as this crutch. I don't know.
This gets into actually a very scary topic of what could happen potentially with the entire world. And it gets into some like conspiracy theories type thing.
Okay, let's do it.
But
what are the conspiracy
theories? So I might take a topic that's completely out of left field from this conversation. But if you look at the pyramids, in Egypt, and how they're one of the wonders of the world, and it's because of how they were built was so unbelievable in terms of putting these massive ton bricks that even with today's technology would be very, very difficult to create. And that could potentially be because they had technology that was completely different, but on a higher scale or unique to what we have today. And then it was completely eradicated somehow. And so that's similar to like where we're at today, where, this new generation, and even my generation, potentially even your generation, don't have the skill sets of the foundational building blocks to get up to the technology level that we have today. And there's fundamental building blocks that evolution built on top of. So for example, this new generation is just learning about AI, for example. So they're going to know how to use AI better than anybody else. But do they know how to even build the systems that created AI? And then before that, do they even know how to build computers that build the systems that build AI? And then do they know how to build the code that build the systems that all of these things build on top of each other? It's like with farming, basically. People don't even know how to farm anymore. And nobody's even like creating their own food.
Yeah.
And so, for example, if there was a worldwide EMP that wiped out all technology, which like there's technology for EMPs that could do a worldwide EMP.
If there was another war, that'd be a strategic move by a country.
Yeah. What would happen to every single person? Every single person would just be beside themselves, not knowing what to do.
I mean, podcasting isn't useful in a world where there's no electricity, and I don't know how to farm. But I think what happens is, and you have what's the word I'm looking for? Like the knowledge and wisdom and wealth is then hyper concentrated in a small group of people that understand how, like in farming, people still farm, But you know who makes the most money? Like huge conglomerates.
Yep.
Now, it's not the individual farmer because there's less and less of them.
Yep.
And in technology, well, there's going to be a very like small select group of people that understand how to code and how to build. And I think that wealth and knowledge is just going to be more concentrated. And I don't think that's actually a good thing. I would hope that technology allows people to explore and learn and be proficient, whatever, like you mentioned, like not just in using AI, but building AI and building the whole supply chain of AI. But you have to make sure that people aren't lazy for that to happen, because they have the opportunity to, but are they actually using it? I don't know. I think that people are ambitious. I think people are not I think that, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that because I know that more people are entrepreneurs than before. And that's sort of like a counterpoint to people being lazy. Why are more people entrepreneurs than ever before? I don't think entrepreneurship is lazy, but then I also see like somebody who is trying to get a 9 to 5 and they're talking about quiet quitting or whatever it is. So then that person's skewing lazy. So why are some people more ambitious and why are some people more lazy? And I don't have an answer for you. I just noticed that there's like extremes on both ends. Maybe because people don't want to be, maybe because life is expensive and people don't want to be stuck in the middle. It's kind of like you either want to be ultra rich and wealthy or you just want to live off government handouts, and there is no more middle class, which is a sign of like a failing nation. That could also be.
That's a sign of a third world country,
Yes.
is when there's no middle class.
So you have these two extremes.
Yep.
I think that's, this is not a political podcast, but as I said it, I think that's actually very interesting how people like try and skew to one or the other. Because I think that the middle class is starting to disappear. Middle class now, what's middle class? Making even like $100,000 in most cities. What is that after tax?
Yeah.
In Canada, you make $100,000, taxes like what, 50-some%.
Yeah.
Can't remember what it is now.
Same as New York. Like you live in New York, you make $100,000 per year, like you're poor.
So you have to go one of two directions.
Yeah.
Am I going to try and bust my ass for $100,000 because that's no longer, middle class doesn't exist with $100,000 anymore? Or am I just gonna like vote for like a more socialist country that like gives me some handouts? It gives me like minimum. What's this like a guaranteed salary or whatever?
Oh yeah,
I can't remember the term now. I'm blanking on the term, but you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So am I just going to focus on like moving to a country that's just going to pay me just to exist, or am I going to try and break out and become somebody who's worth tens of millions of dollars because I see it all over Instagram? I don't know what prompts somebody to go in one direction versus the other. It's probably taking it back to how they were raised and a lot of the shit they went through as a kid. But very interesting, dude. I don't know.
It's also them thinking that maybe that they're not capable of it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
True. Very true. AI is interesting. AI will, I don't know how humanity responds to new technology like that. I think there will be a select few that will sort of like grab it and run with it and leverage it and become not just AI millionaires, but they'll be AI billionaires very easily.
100%.
Very easily. Anyways.